Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll get into deep detail about these all the different kinds of spiritual beings. The snake in the garden being one of them, for sure. Let's yeah. In what way? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a really good image. So the way that I'm going to refer to this group of people is called the Divine Council, and so it's this set of spiritual beings that God is collaborating with in order to get His will accomplished on earth. Now, this is strange to us, I think, if you're not familiar with this idea, because to me at least, I thought God's all powerful. He can do whatever He wants. So why does He need all these other folks to go and do this stuff? So what do you think? Why does God have these other spirits? What's He doing up there? What's going on with that? Okay. Hmm. Yeah. 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 So, yeah. Yeah. Well, it can be dangerous both ways, right? If we could probably abuse that kind of idea as well. And so I guess when so the Bible, the people that wrote the Bible had a worldview that's different than ours. We can agree with that. Okay. And then as they're writing the Bible and communicating ideas, some things that they're conveying, or the ways that they're conveying things, we know aren't scientifically accurate. So like the world doesn't seem to be a flat disk with the heavens above and the earth below, sitting on pillars on top of the sea, right? So, but that's kind of their worldview. They see the world as a structure that looks like that. Earthquakes come because these pillars get shaky, and the floods come because the waters go up, and all that is to say is that some of these ideas we don't accept because we think that was their understanding at the time, but now we maybe have a more accurate understanding this way. But at the same time, that's not what the biblical authors were trying to teach us about. They're not trying to teach us what the cosmography, what the structure of the cosmos. They're trying to convey who God is and who His people are, and how we ought to act in light of who our God is. And so some of these things are incidental, but some of them might not be. And so I think we need to wrestle with that idea more. Is the way that the heavenly host is conveyed, is that a cultural idea that we now know better, or do we often kind of take our own cultural preconceptions and apply them to God, even though maybe He's conveyed things that are different than that? Hmm. Yeah. in space and time and and everything, right? Yeah. 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 Perhaps. Yeah. 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 Need versus want, right? God doesn't need us. He wants us. He wants it this way. This is how he likes it. Okay? He doesn't like being alone. And hopefully we relate to that. I relate to that. And so that's the reason we see humans. He wants them to govern his world on his behalf. And it seems like that's why he has these spiritual beings as well. He wants them to govern the world on his behalf. And like humans, some of them have decided to partner with him, and they sit on his council, and they collaborate, and some do not. Okay? And so those are the core ideas that we're going to be exploring through this whole thing. And hopefully, hopefully this is going to help us unlock a lot of scripture that was strange, or we didn't have good categories before this. Can somebody read Jude 1, verse 6? And then, John, can you look up 1 Peter 3 so we got that ready in the next? One of our favorite passages, right? Jude 1:6. That we quickly skip over whenever we're studying it. So we don't, it's strange to us. We don't really think about this. So what's the author conveying? What's he either assuming that we know or teaching to us? Yeah, there's angels that yep. Yep. Anything else that the author is communicating to us? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's when we realize that something isn't making sense, we have to go back and question our assumptions. We have to question our preconceptions that we're bringing to the text. If something's not fit into our categories, we just got to stop and we got to go investigate that instead of kind of just skipping over it and saying, well, who knows? Yeah. Explain it away. Yeah. True. Yeah, the other thing that I just noticed here is that these angels weren't evaporated. They're not annihilated. They're in chains in some holding cell and awaiting judgment. Right? It's something we don't really talk about, and we don't expound upon. And so hopefully we'll have a better understanding of this by the end of this study. John? again. Another passage that, we just studied this, Dirk. What did you make of this when we were reading over it? Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And in context, I'm sure that fits very well with what Peter's talking about. But I think it's tough to fit these categories around these angels that Jesus is going to preach to, right? It's again, unless we have a more rich and clear understanding of this spiritual realm and what Jesus is doing when he's here on earth, and then when he descends, and then when he ascends, then I think we'll be able to click this stuff together better. And the last one, 1 Corinthians 6:3. I'm just going to read it real quick. Don't you people know you're going to judge the world? Don't you know you're going to rule over angels? We all know that, right? And so we've heard that, and we've read this passage, but what's that mean? And ruling over angels, very, very interesting passage. Hopefully, again, by the end of this study, we'll have a better understanding of our relationship to the heavenly host, what God's plan is for us, what His plan is for these rebellious spiritual beings, and rebellious humans, and faithful humans, and everything in between. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And one of the easiest proofs is say, well, God became a human, right? God became one of us because He wanted to show us that He loves us, and He didn't come as an angel, for sure. He did not become an angel, right? He didn't become a cherubim. He didn't become one of these other divine beings. He becomes a human, and through becoming a human, He's elevating humans, lowering Himself, all these things all at the same time. Let's turn to Psalm 82 real quick. Yeah. No, that's all right. Psalm 82. So we got about 15 minutes left, which isn't enough time to read this whole psalm in context, but if you'd like to do that this week, I think that would be a good exercise. So Psalm 82, verse 1 says, God takes His stand in His own congregation. He judges in the midst of the gods. Now, your passage might say something that doesn't say gods. It might say rulers, or it might say, does anybody have anything else that's the assembly or God? Yeah, gods. Yep, yep. Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's interesting. So I'm learning Hebrew right now. I don't know Hebrew right now. I'm learning, but I looked up the interlinear, so you can look at the English phrase with the Hebrew word, and it's interesting because it says, a Psalm of Asaph, God. So the word is Elohim. Okay, so we're going to get familiar with some Hebrew terms this quarter. Elohim takes his stand in the congregation of El, okay, of the divine. Among the Elohim, he judges. Okay, so it's the same word, Elohim, Elohim. Okay, so God is taking his stand among the Elohim. Okay, and the word Elohim is interesting because so it's a plural word. That's kind of in general how you make words plural in Hebrew. If you hear the im ending, it's usually a plural word. And so Elohim, when it's talking about Yahweh, our God, is a plural noun, okay? And it's called a plural of majesty. So basically, it's calling him God, and it's calling him it's using the plural form out of respect that he is the God of gods. Okay? He's the best God. He's the supreme God. And then, but when it's talking about other divine beings, it's going to use the term Elohim because that's the plural word for these spiritual beings. Okay? And now this is all strange and weird, so your Bible translators are trying to make it less strange and weird so that you'll go and buy their translation of the Bible. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it is important to understand that what's going on here is this psalm is set in the divine council. Okay, it's set when God is taking up the chair and beginning the meeting of his divine council. Okay, and then you can go and read the rest of the psalm and kind of see what he has to say to his divine council. It's not good stuff. They've been misbehaving, and so he's got some chastisement for them. But it's important to see that these words and these concepts, if you don't have good categories for this stuff, then it's easy to actually go and say, oh, well, he wasn't actually talking about divine beings here. He isn't talking about spiritual beings. He's talking about the rulers, right? And that's what my translation says, is the rulers. Or he's talking about pretend gods, just pretend things. But again, if we do have better categories, then I think we'll actually organize this into a much more sensible topic. Okay, does that make sense, this idea? Yeah. Yeah, and so let's read that passage. That was actually one of the next ones. That was going to be a few questions down, but we're just going to skip to that. So verse 6 says, I said, so this is still God speaking, I said you are gods, and you are all sons of the Most High. Okay? So why is God calling these spiritual beings sons of the Most High? Okay, so he's just calling them that whether they are or not. He created them. Yeah. 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 So he creates these beings. He puts them on his council. They're his sons, right? And this makes sense from an ancient perspective especially, right? Who does the king put into his council? Yeah, he puts his sons there, right? He puts the best nobles, he puts his family into the council, and they're going to give him the best counsel, right? And they're going to support him because he's the king, and they benefit when he does well, and they suffer when he suffers, right? You don't trust people that aren't related to you because they wouldn't have your best interests at heart. They're not your people, right? So you put your sons on the council, and they give you the advice. Yeah, yeah, and you have to remember that this idea, the sons of God or the sons of the prophet, this term in Hebrew kind of has a special connotation to you're in that class. Okay, you're in that group of people. You're that person's followers or disciples or supporters. Okay, so if you have the sons of the prophet, then they're the disciples that follow the prophet around and try and act like him and try and be like him and support him and what he's doing. And so in the same way, the sons of God acts in this way, right? They are his counsel, and they are like him, and they're aspiring to be and support him and do his will. But they aren't God, okay? And that's an important distinction to make. So that's what we're going to look at to close our class out. Let's turn over to Psalm 89:6. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and introducing them to Trinitarian theology. Okay, so Psalm 89, verse 6. For who in the heavens is comparable to the Lord? Who among the sons of the mighty is like the Lord? Okay, there's a distinction. These divine beings that are in heaven are spiritual beings, but they are not God. Okay, and there is no one beside God. So for us, I think at least how I was taught and raised was that, well, there are no gods. All the other gods are pretend. It's just one God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and maybe some angels or something, but they're not, don't talk about them. And the real thing is God. Everything else is just pretend. Okay? But what I think the Bible is asking us to understand is that God is surrounded by all these spiritual beings, and they are real, and they do function, they have jobs to do, and they carry them out at God's command. Some of them are in rebellion, and I think that's a good spot to put these gods that have been accepted worship from humans and set up their own cults and temples and all these things. That's what is attracting the attention of the Israelites as they go through this journey, right? They're not being attracted by nothing. They're being attracted by these gods that have these spiritual beings that have rebelled and are living in their rebellion and accepting worship from these people. Does that kind of make sense in this story and this idea that we've been following? So there are spiritual beings. God is a spiritual being, but he is a one without comparison, right? He's above all the rest. And there are this other group that's below him, the sons of God, and some of them follow God and carry out his will, and some of them are in rebellion, and we'll explore that idea in the coming weeks. Any questions or pushback? I know for some of y'all, this might be a new way to think about things. Is this kind of, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Does this kind of make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in a lot of this, we don't have a crystal clear picture of, and I'm not gonna try to make it seem like we have that, a good encyclopedic knowledge of, well, this kind of angel does this and this kind of does that. We do have an idea about some of them and the functions of like the cherubim and some of these ones that we get these ideas. But I think you're right that the important thing to understand, and what I want to leave you with today, is that God is supreme, and that he has these spiritual beings. Some of them have rebelled and some of them are faithful. This is mirrored in heaven as on earth, right? So he also has humans, which he created. Some of them have rebelled. Some of them are faithful to him. The important thing that I guess I want to convey is that this is going to help us understand the story of the Bible much better when we see it in these terms. And we see that in the same way that God has been patient and allows us to rebel without immediately destroying us, God is being patient until his Son returns, at which time he will destroy these spiritual beings which are in rebellion and end evil, the source of evil, once and for all. So, yeah, hopefully that was helpful. If you do have any questions, please let me know. There's lots more stuff on your worksheet that you can work through this week, in addition to the homework. So please check out all those passages. If you have questions, send me an email or a text, or just give me a call, and I'd love to chat more about it with you. Thank you.